This is a video of a ride I took down a mountain on a recent camping trip I took to Sam's Throne Campground in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas. This was my first trip to Sam's Throne. I sold a motorcycle of mine, a 1996 BMW GS, to a local person that's become a friend of mine, and he asked me to go down here to Arkansas with him to a campground that he's been to many times. I'm always good for a motorcycle trip, and the Ozarks has always been on my list, and I wanted to take my bike down there. Being as how I had sold my GS, the only motorcycle I had left was my K1200 BMW. It's a full-dress touring bike, and dry, this bike weighs 830 pounds. On this trip, and I guess like every trip I take, I overpack, and between my 185 pounds and 150 pounds or so, and maybe more of all my gear, I had my bike pushing 1,100, over 1,100 pounds, I suppose, and that's just a lot of motorcycle to be hustling around these little tight curves. Look at how careful I need to be just navigating one of the many curves, and these aren't even hairpin curves necessarily. They're pretty tight, but not every one's a complete hairpin. While I was riding down the mountain, I couldn't help but think about the bike that I had purchased earlier this same week. I had just bought a 2015 Aprilia Capanor, and nobody's familiar with an Aprilia Capanor, and what it is, it's Aprilia's take on an adventure bike, and Aprilia being the world dominant racing force in motorcycles of all different types of genres, from dirt and street and track and the rest. They've got a lot of savvy to build a really good motorcycle. I bought it because the price was right, and because I'd sold that GS, and because I was down to one motorcycle. This bike is very comfortable on the road. The K1200 I'm talking about now, the one we're riding on now, and it just doesn't have a maneuverability, and it's always work when it's loaded. Every time you push it up from a kickstand, from it being getting gas at a station, or checking in at a hotel, to whenever you've got to lug that thing back up on two wheels, man, you know it's there. I really got to thinking about a lighter weight bike on this trip. The road we're on here is Arkansas Highway 123, and at this point of my camping trip, I'd been on this road 3 or 4 times. When I first encountered it, I was going up the mountain, and it was 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, and it was completely dark, and didn't have the right lights on my motorcycle, and I knew I was in a cool spot, but I couldn't wait till I could see it like it is now in the daylight. The town that I'm heading towards is a little town called Hasty, and Hasty is 15 miles or so away from another little town called Western Grove, and that intersects Highway 123, which is the road we're on right now, and US Highway 65. US Highway 65 goes 10 miles. It's a north-south, 10 miles away from my house. So theoretically I could jump on US 65 and take a right and be on this road. The distance from my house is about 460 miles or so. According to the Google map, they show it at 7 hours and 6 minutes. If we did go down Highway 65 and took a right to get on this road, that would put us at 447 miles. Shorter trip, but a longer time of 7 hours and 53 minutes. I think the next time I go down, that's the way I'm going to go down, is through Highway 165. The roads down here are as pretty and scenic as anything that I've ridden on. We stopped for breakfast along the way, and I mentioned to one of the locals, man, you guys have incredible roads. And the fellow looked at me and he says, shh, we want to keep that a secret. We don't want to attract too much attention to ourselves. And I guess I don't blame him. I went to Sturgis last year, and for a little tiny sleepy town to get 1 million people in there, it's got to be hard on them. And these roads are a lot more fun to ride when there aren't 2,000 or 3,000 other bikers right on the same spot of the road you're on at the same time, and safer this way too. See, I'm coming down to where the road's starting to straighten out a little bit. I'm able to pick up a little more speed. There's a few guys on their bikes. There was a motorrad convention. That's a BMW organization in a town near here called Harrison. And we stopped by, and we were intending to visit some of the vendors and maybe buy a BMW patch, or who knows what we might find there. And the man at the gate wanted $75 just to let us in to go spend money at one of their vendors. And I didn't spend a lot of time there after that. And we hightailed it out of there. And when you got roads like this everywhere in this area, there's no reason to be standing around to be chiseled by some guy in front of a gate. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little ride down the mountain, and next summer when the roads are dry and roads are warm, I'm definitely going to get my girlfriend in the back of the bike and bring her on down here.